Hello! I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest. This is my husband, Dante. Most of you know who he is, but if you don't know, this is him. Hey! I invited him here because, remember recently I posted a video discussing my struggles with signing with my children, and my journey and different challenges that I have just turning my voice off and signing only. So I wanted you to understand why it's important to our family and why it's important to my husband mostly to use sign language in the house and having the children sign instead of speak. So my first question, Dante, is I wanted you to share your background and a little bit why you prefer sign language, over speech and lip reading. Yes, so Sherry just introduced me. My name is Dante, and I was born and raised here in Utah, obviously. I am deaf. I grew up signing, and I'm very lucky because both of my parents, well, before that, let's back up. My parents didn't know I was deaf until about 18 months old. Once they found out I was deaf, they weren't sure what to do. There's a PIP program, parent-infant program, here in Utah, for deaf children, and so I was given a deaf mentor. They introduced sign language program, also a speech oral program, and my parents weren't really sure which way to go. They thought maybe speaking would be best because it'd be just like them. But as my dad researched a little bit more, his heart was touched with wanting to teach me sign language, and so I'm very grateful that my dad did that. And his signing wasn't pure ASL. It was, English versions, PSC and SE and C. But mostly my background, I prefer sign language because I did grow up having to do speech and lip reading, but I didn't like it. It took away time from my education. Like, I'd be in class and they'd say, come to speech therapy, and this would happen often. So I would be pulled out and I'd miss a lot of school practicing my speech, and I hated it. But I had to go about practicing it. So as time went on, during high school, I had an IEP meeting, and they really emphasized that I needed to practice speech. And I said, heck no. My decision for my IEP, I'm going to take control. I'm done with speech and lip reading. I'm done. I want to focus on sports and my education. And the IEP director said, that's fine. That's up to you guys as a family, and you're allowed to have an input. So that's what I did. And I went to college and I studied deaf studies. I was involved in sports, specifically lacrosse, for 12 years. I play in a league right now for fun. And I guess that's it for my background. Okay. So, since Dante's told me his background and more so about sign language and why it's important, I understand why it's very important for a deaf person to be able to have that language. So it's taken me time to really understand why he feels the importance of always having the kids sign. So Dante, could you share why it's important for your children to sign specifically? Yes. So I grew up and my parents did try their best, which is awesome. They did their best with a deaf child, but I am the only deaf person in my family with 6 siblings. So my dad would be speaking to the children and I'd feel very left out, and this would happen often. I would always ask, what did they say? What did they say? They'd say, I'll tell you later. So I put that in the back of my mind, and 10 minutes later I'd say, what did you say? They said, oh, I don't remember. And so it wasn't fair that I didn't have that access, and so it was really frustrating to go through that with my family growing up. So I knew when I got married, I didn't want to have that heck and go through that time again of feeling left out and isolated all the time. So I told my wife, I said, I want us to sign all the time. I want us to set up those roles as parents, mom and dad, showing them that we sign. And they develop that language until they see that, they have that language developed, but if they see mom talking, then, it doesn't set up that rule and they'll just talk. So I've really tried to emphasize just signing in our family, both of us, so that the kids see both of us are equal, and voicing language is not above sign language. And so that's why I wanted to set up the rule in our house as parents that we sign. And I know for Sherry it's hard because she, didn't grow up with sign language or in the deaf culture. I know children who have deaf parents. They have that culture inside of them. They've developed it over time, and that's part of their childhood. And they can go back to signing and speaking. But when children see parents who are speaking and signing and using SimCom, it's confusing. It's not a real language. So I said we need to pick one language. We can't be doing both, going back and forth. It's confusing. So it means you either speak or you sign, and I want to sign in the house. The problem is, if they're speaking, since I'm deaf, I'm the only deaf person, and they're talking, I don't know what they're saying. And I'll say, what did they say to Sherry? And I won't get that full story because I'm not getting it from them. I'm just getting pieces of it. And I stay home. I've stayed home with my kids. And as they've gotten older, it's gotten frustrating because I don't know what they want. Until Sherry comes home, they'll talk and express all these feelings they've been feeling all day. And so it's very frustrating if they're not learning the sign language. So I've really worked with Sherry and trying to see if we can just sign a lot more and we can get into that habit, all of us. My goal in this house is that we could just sign, and that develops that key and that habit so that the kids see both mom and dad. They're equal. They're both signing. They can go to either one of us, and I won't feel like something's missing. And that way they can come to either of us. Thank you. I feel like since we've had our 3 children, our twins will be 5 this September, but I really realized that language development from ages 0 to 5 is so important, which Dante has really, really emphasized that to me. I realized that, and that's why I set up my Facebook page, trying to connect with other people who are also struggling with that same situation that I am with communication. I can't be the only one. I can't be the only hearing person in the deaf community that is with, a hearing person with a deaf individual that's struggling with this. But I do want to improve, and I do want to figure out how to let go of that spoken language and just sign with the children all the time. And I'm very motivated. I've tried so many different approaches to, just help myself. Like I've written notes and I put them on the walls. I've done different things, like I have a birthday countdown for the twins, like 2 months left, like just to get my brain to be an alert to just sign when I see it. Tape over my mouth so I just sign. Wow, I've really tried so many things to try and help myself and force myself to let go of that bond and desire to just use the spoken language that I've grown up with. But really my hope is to be able to let go and to just be able to have that natural desire to just sign and express everything with my children. So that is my hope, and I really look forward to that. So Sherry mentioned that bond that she has, that spoken bond, which I understand, and that's something I don't want to take away. Like, she does singing with the children, and there's a few things that I think is fine, and I don't want to take that from her. So those kind of things I understand as a husband, and I know that you can still have that bond, but also sign with the children. And I want to also have that access with my children and have everyone happy. That way we all have sign language and we all understand each other. So this is kind of the hot topic for us that we've always discussed as husband and wife together. But I'm happy that Dante can come here and express his feelings. Thank you.